Fan.
You homer!
The Vikings.
Oh my God!
Well, Perko wouldn't be chill if he still were the quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings, and you lose the first game. You can't lose to the Giants to start things. And I ain't looking at season totals for wins and losses, or like for the Giants or for the Vikings. I'm just and not even casting the gaze the way of season-long expectations. It's just, whence you came and from the spot they come, and with the situations with the teams, granted this transition for both of them, you just, in my estimation, you can't lose to the New York Giants to start things. And I know it's a road game. I think the Vikings it'll be close to a pick'em, or the Vikings might even be a lukewarm favorite in that game. But when thinking about, some of the key games coming up for the Minnesota Vikings, where we are, what are we today? We're July 8th. So that means we're a month and small change from the first preseason game. August 10th, U.S. Bank Stadium, silver and black, the commitment to excrement's going to be in town. Then after that, they're at Cleveland on August 17th, and they're at Philadelphia. And then we start against the New York Giants. And the way things stack up, and we've chatted about a lot of this in passing, but just kind of honing in on certain scenarios this year. I don't think it's too flippant to say, and it's not making the 2024 Minnesota Vikings sound like the 1985 Bears or the 1927 New York Yankees. You just can't lose to the New York Giants transitioning the way they are post Saquon with Danny Dimes to start festivities. You with me on that?
With you completely. I kind of look at it, and it's different because we have the ability to go back and look at the season in totality. But think about the way that we spoke about the Bucs game to open a year ago. You can't lose to the Bucs. I mean, Baker in here. Are you kidding me with this? That's cool. They got Godwin. They got Mike Evans.
Right.
That's all good. New coordinator, got to learn on the fly. That's fine. We will see trials and tribulations, but you got to have this one at home.
Very good point.
Doesn't go the right way, and in some ways, season gets off to a weird vibe. It's turnover city, opening possession, gaffes here, there, and everywhere. You had to have that victory. You couldn't get it. So similarly, as we and it just feels even heavier. The burden of this, or the onus on this team to get this week one victory, is as you go on, you'll kind of see why as you start listing a gauntlet in a schedule that is not doing any favors to a team that with the Vikings. Giants are in transition, so are the Vikings, and so. Got to have week one. I just don't think there's any argument to the contrary.
Think about this off the conversation we just had with Crimson Tide and Giants immortality, Howard Cross.
He was in the 41 donut game, by the way.
Yep, that's right. Yeah. He won the Super Bowl against the Bills, and right at the end of his career, the 2000 NFC title game. Just think about this. I mean, it's if you're gonna go fear over faith, and you're going to start thinking about, certain facets of certain games in early July for something that transpires in mid-September. Dexter Lawrence. I mean, how hungry is Dexter Lawrence going to be, having not eaten the entire offseason? Are you kidding me?
No, he's absolutely going to be starving. And a Dexter Lawrence, you don't have to go that far back. When we had Coach of the Year and Brian Dable, and you had 4th and 8 checkdowns, etc. Who was the catalyst of the checkdown?
I hit him hard.
Who basically just ruined Kirk Cousins' life in 2 different games.
I hit him hard.
Took 61 from Greg Joseph to make a Merry Christmas for everybody, and then in the playoffs we saw what he did. Dexter Lawrence, Kayvon Thibodeau. They real hungry. They starving into week one.
Now, New York Giants and New York and or New Jersey fans of the Giants are, it's not necessarily, like finding Giants Twitter, or reading chat rooms or bottoms of stories and things like that. It's just kind of feeling that vibe from afar that those in the NYC and or New Jersey are just so negative on their team. Like the Saquon Barkley bit, I mean, it's like the way I laid it out to Howard Cross. You had part of the fan base that was like, whatever, he's washed up, and he, because of injuries, he's just not as good as he used to be. Then there were others like, well, that sucks. I mean, he picks up the blitz, he catches it, he makes people miss, he's slithery, and then he goes to the Eagles.
Yeah.
And willingly goes to the Eagles to beat the Giants potentially 2 times in a season. And that, that's the temperature, I believe, of their fan base heading into the season. Nobody likes the quarterback in the first place. Danny Dimes, I'm sure he's a nice guy. I'm sure a very learned individual out of Duke University, the former Blue Devil. But nevertheless, Giants fans don't want Daniel Jones as their quarterback, and he's their quarterback. The fan has learned. So
they've been complaining, since he got there, he gets hurt. It's a tough situation for Saquon. But now and somebody just asked via the text line, like, who's their starting running back? It's Devin Singletary. So think if you're an annoyed Giants fan and you've been complaining about Saquon and money
wow.
you want better than the franchise tag, just go somewhere else. Well, he did. He went to your biggest rival. And then you replace him with a guy that is what? Still low, mid, maybe high 20s, but already trying to resurrect his career after being in both Buffalo and the Texans. If you're a Giants fan, still living on a couple of defensive performances for the ages in the postseason, backed by Eli on the other side of things with some heroic throws, you're pulling hair out right now. And so, week 1, Devin Singletary, Danny Dimes.
Play action off Singletary to Neighbors. I mean, come on.
That might work.
Well, Neighbors is going to be good. Ain't no doubt about it. And he's super skilled, but it's off our conversation during Bikes Bites, red light, flashlight, purple light, off our Bikes Bites conversation. Play action of Devin Singletary. I mean, the linebackers and safeties, they really start tripping on that. Well, maybe from a Minnesota Vikings standpoint, given it's Devin Singletary, they should.
2nd and goal from the gun. Devin Singletary heads to the right, cuts left, walks into the end zone, touchdown, Buffalo Bills. Devin Singletary with a 5-yard touchdown run, his first rushing touchdown of the year, and it's on here at Highmark, 7-6 Minnesota.
Oh!
2nd and goal, handoff Singletary swinging around the right side and into the end zone through an arm tackle by Eric Hendricks. Devin Singletary came into the game with 0 rushing touchdowns, and he now has 2 about 14 minutes into the game, and the Bills have taken a 13-7 lead.
Come on, man.
He dropped the ball as he went down, and it's picked up by Cam Bynum. Get up there, Cam. Go, 30. He's to the 50. Cam Bynum.
Now, back to Vikings football on The Fan.
So 2 Singletary touchdowns November of 2022, that Bills game, one of the great regular season games, not only in the history of Vikings football, but the history of the National Football League. And I just remember the next day when, with the Jefferson one-handed grab and Cuz Buzz dropping the ball at the goal line, and then Josh Allen, we think, takes a safety, but no, he drops it, and the Vikings get a serendipitous touchdown out of it. And everything that transpired during the course of that game. I think Patrick Peterson had 2 interceptions, including a game-sealing score. But when we started talking about it the Monday after the game, both of us were like, Devin Singletary and that speed, he looked Ronaldo Nehemiah / Usain Bolt fast in that game. So maybe the play action off old Devin's going to be a little more formidable than we think right now. The con.
Yeah, I should give him more credit because then last year, of course, Charch's favorite player in the NFL, Dameon Pierce. Dameon Pierce left in a shadow by Devin Singletary in Houston last year. So they replaced Saquon. He's out of the mix. I think Darren Waller retired or whatever after that. There was a little bit of weirdness a little cloudiness surrounding that.
Darren Waller's trying to become a singer. Have you seen that online?
I've seen a couple of...
You've seen some clips?
I've seen some rap videos.
So, rap / but it's like, when I listened to one of them, it kind of had that Daniel Caesar feel to it.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Sure, a little bit of Love Galore.
Rap a little, sing a little. No, Love Galore was SZA.
Oh.
Daniel Caesar was get you.
Yes,
was
he
it
got
get,
me. It was.
get you?
You're right.
It was get you. But it just, I mean, I ain't saying Darren Waller can't sing. All right. I got no idea if he can sing. I mean, maybe he's Luther Vandross reincarnate. But it really personified just what you can do with a voice and what you can do.
Oh, yeah.
With
a little auto-tune.
Thank you. Auto. That's why. Yeah. The button pushing, the auto-tune, the meshing of things, it's like the audio version of so many social media things where you're like, damn, man, that face looks weird right there. It's like all smooth and everything. And with the filters and stuff. So that, it had a very poor man's Daniel Caesar feel to it.
Instead of hashtag no filter, hashtag needs filtering.
They, these New York Giants, week number 1, they're going to attempt to put Malik Neighbors on a big one. That's just generally how it works. Where did he get drafted? 6? Like 6 overall, right?
Yeah, 5 or 6. Yeah.
Yep. Top 5, top 6. Okay. He's talented. And Daniel Jones his arm's not bad. It's not the most accurate thing in the world, but he can chuck it deep. That play action off Devin Singletary, though. It's when you're playing a game, and on the other side is Justin Jefferson. One of the certain, maybe the best receiver in the NFL. He's en route to becoming one of the 3 best receivers in the history of Vikings football, if he's not already there. With all due respect to Adam Thielen, but when you have a cocksure, confident rookie receiver like Malik Neighbors, and JJ's on the other side of the field. I mean, they're going to try to put this LSU kid on a big one, man. Malik Neighbors was the all-time leader in receiving yards at LSU. Little did we know until we started thinking about these games. My man had 3,003 yards in his years at LSU. So he's the all-time leader there. 6 overall pick. Justin was 22. It's the Giants fans are going to be like, everybody came to see Jets and left talking about Neighbors.
I always love that one.
They're going to try to put that kid on a big game, Malik Neighbors. Week number 2, as the terrific 10 that yours truly has been thinking about, probably a little too much the last couple of weeks during the vocal maintenance days. And this is not a make or break situation. All right, these games, like at Giants, Niners here, Texans here, at Lambeau, Lions here out of the bye, at the Rams after the Lions, at Tennessee, and then you got 3 in a row at home, weeks 13 to 15. Those make up some of these 10 that I've been thinking about. And I mean, week 2 with the home opener, it plays into the Giants conversation, but obviously the 49ers are dramatically better overall and more organized than Daboll's New York Giants. But I mean, you're not supposed to lose your home opener. They did it last year to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That was just a strain. I mean, I never, and I can't speak for fans, but hear me if you felt this during the course of the 3 hours and change. I just never thought they were losing that game to Tampa Bay during the course of the game. And I know they couldn't get hold of Mike Evans, but I just never felt the Vikings were losing. I felt they had them exactly where they wanted them every step of the way. Then a couple of weeks later, they had a game against the LA Chargers that they lost. And like in that game, I never thought they were going to win. They, for some reason, they were making so many mistakes and fumbles and things like that, and then if a Caleb Evans can hold on to an interception, they win. If TJ Hawkinson can make what I think would be an 8 out of 10 on the spectacular catch-ometer, it would have been a toughie. But, the ball, it was a fastball from Cuzbuzz, and Hawkinson left his feet to bring it in at the goal line. And that's something that I've discussed with 9 to Noon about TJ, just in kind of thinking about what could possibly be next for somebody that tall, that fast, and his skill set's very high end. But that would be the perfect example. Making the acrobatic circus, I can't believe what I just saw type catch.
Yeah.
TJ just never makes them. And it's kind
of against the grain. He's going the other direction. Yeah, it is a tough catch. Gotta have that one, brother.
It's during the course of TJ's career. He makes a lot of catches, but when it comes to these otherworldly, just unbelievable catches, I think that possibly could be next for TJ Hawkinson, and that would have won the game against the LA Chargers, and that wasn't even the home opener. The home opener this year is week 2 against the San Francisco 49ers. And, I mean, this is Darnold versus his former team. So, all right, now Sam, he's backing up Brock Purdy, and he's not playing any, but nevertheless, he's part of the next level Shanny Pitt. A lot of friendships forged there, and they go to the Super Bowl. So it's we know that you know that we know that you know that they know that everybody knows about our defense, and we know what you can do well and what happens when you get put in compromising positions. Or do they? Did they see enough from Sam Darnold as the backup and or the scout quarterback to really, really dive deeply into the minutia of what he can do when given a full-time opportunity with a quality running back and a couple of super high-end wide receivers? So that's compelling to me at this moment. Now, if you beat the New York Giants and then you come home and you beat the San Francisco 49ers,
Oh my gosh.
all eyes are on the cornfield, baby, talking about the old 2024 Minnesota Vikings.
Everything is up for grabs. In the same vein, you mentioned that Chargers game, for instance, the way it goes to start last season, where you're 0-3 and you didn't get that win at Tampa. Remember how the conversation changed? And
right.
TJ getting that ball, he didn't get the clutch catch. He had the ball ripped out of his hands at the end of a drive where KOC ran it like 5 or 6 consecutive times.
What?
Almost trying to prove to himself and the universe that, hey, we can run the ball too. And so you just think of like the turnovers in Philly and all of like how quickly we're going from riding high off of 22 into 23. The exact opposite can happen now, where there's a fan base that is playing the game of the totals and all of that. And oh my goodness, if they're 1-4 into the bye, that's best case scenario. There's no chance that they could beat the Niners week 2. Those conversations exist. If you go 2-0, that Monday montage is going to be all I do is win, 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 no matter what. You have to listen live though, not on podcast.
Might have to dust off McFadden and Whitehead with "Ain't no stopping us now. We never lose." But there's more, and we'll get into it as we are taking a look at a terrific 10 games the Minnesota Vikings have this year that are either of the daunting or key variety, and we've gone through a couple. We will go through more around the corner, but first we got this.
Yeah, the Fan and BigDeck.com want to give you a chance to put $1,000 in your hand with the National Cash Contest. Go to KFAN.com, enter the keyword bonus. You might win $1,000 with the keyword bonus at KFAN.com.
What about week 3, Diggs? Back at U.S. Bank Stadium. Danielle Hunter, fast surface, U.S. Bank Stadium.
Yeah.
We got some Texans taking on the Texans, trying to be better Texans than any Texan ever to Texan this side of Andre Johnson. But as the terrific 10 would go, you can't lose to the New York Giants. We'll just leave that right there. Week number 2, it's preferred to not lose your home opener. It's not necessarily devastating for business, but it ain't great for business when you lose your home opener, especially if you win your season opener. But then you get to the weirdness that is week 3, because now now you're going to have 2 games of film watching for the learned coaches, which means you're going to have 140 to 170 plays of regular season football for offenses and defenses. You're gonna know Shaq Griffin. You're gonna know Byron Murphy Jr. You're going to know, if you're the Texans' offensive staff, what Cashman and/or Grenard can or can't do. Likewise for O'Connell with Danielle Hunter. It's Danielle, for my taste, is coming off the best run force season of his career. I just never have seen Danielle play as well against the run as he did last year. Really, really settling in. He's a Houston native, so he's going to feel really good playing for those Texans. So I'm not saying you can't lose at home to Diggs. You can't lose at home to Daniil. You might even be an underdog in this game at home against C.J. Stroud and the stable of receivers that everybody keeps bragging about on the social media circuit. But Diggs and Daniil week 3, that would qualify as daunting. That would qualify as a key game, the con.
Yeah, and I think it goes the other way, too. Just look at whether it's Jonathan Grenard, it's Mike Cashman, is it Camu Grugier-Hill, Shaq Griffin, a number of players on the Vikings defense actually came or have been with the Houston Texans of late as well. So you play that game. Of course, Vikings were thinking about Stephon and Daniil, the A topic. I totally get it. I was coming at this from the prism of the Vikings losing week 2. So I don't want to be the pessimist of the group, PA, but I'm just thinking Niners in town. That's a tough one week 2. Mm-hmm. But then I look at that early slot before the bye. I don't want to go 0-2 at home to start the season. And so just kind of playing that game, you're 1-1. This is the rubber match 3 in, and you get your second home opportunity. This game is so vital. It is a point where now this is a launch point. Players that know each other. It is a couple of weeks into the season. I did not put the Niners in my terrific 10, but this Houston game absolutely is, for me, week 3. I think that's super vital to how this team's entire season plays out, given some home games, that 3-game road stretch down the stretch as well after the bye. But this Houston Texans game is one I'm really looking forward to, and I want my team to win.
Me too, and I'm glad it's at home. Week number 4 at Lambeau Field. And this, it's bad for business, or talking about the business of it doesn't necessarily always mean, at least with me, the pluses or the minuses with the bottom line, with the financial aspect of it. It's like business can be opinions formulated and people not watching or not listening or scorning on the social media circuit. Well, it's like with the Giants. I mean, I think the Giants are, one of the worst teams in the NFL, and I don't think the Vikings are. And then they certainly have rights to change those opinions during the course of the year. But you can't lose week 1 against that team, specifically there with like 300 members of the Wilf family undoubtedly in attendance, given they live there. Week 2 against the Niners, Darnold against his old team against Darnold. That's going to be cool. Then we got Diggs and Daniil at U.S. Bank Stadium. And you don't want Stephon Diggs to roll in here and go for 175-3, which I don't think will happen. He had a very nondescript game against the Vikings when they faced him in 2022 against the Buffalo Bills, and that was a good team with Josh Allen and so on. Gabe Davis had a touchdown in that game, and so on. But you really don't want to come back to Lambeau Field with Aaron Jones and lose the game. I mean, you don't. It took. I mean, it's. Aaron caught wind, or his agent did, that, Green Bay is going to move on and sign Josh Jacobs. All right. Well, I mean, Josh ain't as fast as Aaron. Now, it doesn't mean Josh is bad. Josh is fine. Josh Jacobs is a fine running back. Doesn't catch it as well as Jones, but nevertheless, that's fine. So they're going to roll. They're going to try to beat on you a little bit with Josh Jacobs in that physical running style. I mean, it credit to, when I say Kwesi's playing fast, it's things like this. It took Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah, general manager for the Vikings, all of 8 minutes to get with Aaron Jones and his representation. And, I'm not sure this was said, but inherently speaking, it probably was like, you want to beat him? We're going to give you an opportunity here, but we're not exactly, looking between couch cushions for money anymore, like we have the last X amount of years. But what do you think? 1-7. We've got Aaron Jones on a 1-year, $7 million deal. And I know the devaluing of running backs is taking place. That's unbelievable if he plays 3/4 to 80% of the games. A year and $7 million. And, his season begins against the New York Giants, but emotionally speaking, Week 4 at Lambeau Field with Aaron Jones. Come on, man, you can't lose that game.
It's one of my favorite games of the first couple of months of the season. Hey. First divisional game, you have the Aaron Jones shucked aside, just given away. We don't need you here. Despite, as we were talking earlier, his 5 straight 100-plus yard performances down the stretch and in the playoffs.
Yeah.
That helped not only Jordan Love elevate his game, but helped elevate this team through the playoffs.
They didn't want you, Showtime.
Didn't want you anymore. So you're going to go back there. It's back to the scene of the crime, sadly, where Kirk Cousins tears his Achilles a year ago. Key for me, though, speaking of Jordan Love, prove it to me, big fella. Okay, you're sitting there. I think it's like $12.5 million. You want that big money deal?
14-1 to become the MVP. They tell us.
There you go. He's the 6th favorite in the NFL in the MVP voting race right now. Might be tied for 5, as a matter of fact. So that's the pedestal that Jordan Love has been placed upon by those that watch and love the game. Prove it to us. And week 4, he's going to get that opportunity. And so that is why it's one of my favorite games. There's just, and it's the border battle. We get all that. It's early in the year, so the weather should be fine. Mm-hmm. Will Reichard from 40 to win it. Let's go. I mean, it's going to be sweet.
Bringing Showtime back to Lambeau Field. Play action off Showtime with deep games to the likes of Jefferson and or Addison. That sounds good enough to eat, doesn't it?
Hell yeah, it does. No, again, the border battle is always a big deal. But as you were playing through, whether it's Darnold and the Niners, we got Daniil and the Texans, now it's Aaron Jones on our side going back to Lambeau. You know, the personal connections that kind of sprinkle themselves into this early gauntlet-like slate, where again, people are like, 1-4, that's what it's going to be. Okay, well, let's handle this border battle week 4. Let's get there, see what this thing looks like, and let's play, as you would say. No, it's going to be awesome.
Well, I can't find it in the system, but the last time we played Green Bay, I mean, just what an absolute unadulterated disaster that game was.
No, whether it was Mannion over the middle, incomplete, Vikings punt, or it's Jaron Hall thrust into the spotlight in prime time.
Oh, yeah.
And sadly, he just wasn't ready for the moment and didn't play very well. Had to be pulled for Mullins at half. That was disastrous. I mean, that was nuclear bad. And so, but the last time we were at Lambeau, you got Addison in the end zone. You have the positivity of that. So I'd rather focus on what we did at Lambeau last year, even with the negativity of the injury. Than what we had to witness, what we had to endure. Was that New Year's Eve or Christmas Eve?
It was New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
And they had a guy in that game who had a big game. And for the life of me, I just can't remember who he is. His last name is Melton.
Here comes the 13th play of an 82-yard possession that's taken half of the third quarter. Love on third down, back to pass, goes on a deep drop, throws to a man wide open in the end zone, caught touchdown. That is a touchdown for Bo Melton.
What?
A 9-yard touchdown. And for Bo Melton, first year from Rutgers, that is his first National Football League touchdown.
You mean the guy that went for 105 and the 4 called upon touchdown in that game?
That's special.
Bo Melton.
Yeah, this happened too.
Nick Mullins with 2 receivers right. KJ Osborne catchless to the left. Mullins puts Jefferson in motion to the left on fourth down. Takes the snap. Straight drop. He'll step up. Throw to the end zone. Incomplete.
How is that not a flag?
Center of the end zone looking for JJ.
Well, the analysts all wound up. So we've gone through Giants and Niners and Houston and Showtime back at Lambeau Field. There's more, and we'll get into it today or somewhere during the course of the week because around the corner we have News du Nord. This is KFAN.
Welcome back. News du Nord brought to you by The Casino at Canterbury Park, CanterburyPark.com. Intel on poker, blackjack, and table games. That happens every day of the year. Live racing in play as well. And they just finished up a week of 4 racing days, I believe, in the same week. They got multiple 4-day race weeks, I know, on the calendar throughout the summer. The season is flying by, so don't miss your chance, whether it's the wiener dogs, the corgis, you got the fun races, you got face painting, family days. It's an absolute blast and a party down in Shakopee. So go to CanterburyPark.com for more details. We will start here where we started the show, PA. We all heard the news on Saturday that Vikings corner Kyrie Jackson, he was in Upper Marlboro, Maryland, along with a couple of high school football teammates in Isaiah Hazel. He was 23 years old, Kyrie 24, and then Anthony Litton, he was 24 as well. They were pronounced dead after an awful, fatal car accident. Claimed all 3 of their lives in Upper Marlboro. Corey Klingman, age 23. She was the driver of the vehicle that apparently caused a chain reaction of collision that led the Dodge Charger carrying Kyrie and his two friends off the road. Either went through a series of tree stumps or trees, but ultimately two of them were pronounced dead at the scene. The other one, Anthony Litton, was pronounced dead at the hospital. An absolute tragedy. I would encourage those after the show to, if you missed it, podcast the opening segment with Alec Lewis of The Athletic. Did terrific reporting on Kyrie, who had worked his way back into a spot to achieve his talents and his dreams. And maybe the only NFL prospect, none of that matters. 3 young people's lives were cut short. Alcohol was perceived to be a factor as part of this accident. Charges and other things pending as the investigation continues. That's kind of where things sit at this moment. But just awful, tragic news. Kyrie and 2 of his friends taken from the earth.
And with Kyrie Jackson, he was 24 years of age. And he sat out of football for basically 2 years. We have 3 junior colleges in the mix, something called Fort Scott, East Mississippi, which was that Netflix Last Chance U school, I believe, and something like Arizona Western University, then Alabama. He had to leave Alabama and went to Oregon. Now, with Kyrie Jackson, it's there are many sad facets here, specifically if you're a family member or a friend. But Kyrie, as was stated in that story that Alec Lewis wrote, we discussed that story earlier, 9 to noon, is if you were to build a cornerback and like manufacture it in a test tube, it would be him. I mean, the height, the arm length, speed, and just everything, and like to mix it up physically in the running game. All right, so there's all that. But Kyrie was on his way to, at one point, like some people would say, wasted talent. Like God gave you this frame and this natural ability to play football and desire and tenacity and wherewithal and things like that, and you're just messing it up, man. Well, maybe it's not necessarily he was messing it up. Maybe he just lacked desire to play football. But there was a tumultuous to mercurial to different time of his life within the last half decade where there was going to be no football. And, then some mentors and some coaches and some people and his parents, they talked to him in a way where he came back to the game and he got bit. The fire to play the game returned. In a national championship game season for the Alabama Crimson Tide. Well, then he gets drafted, and he gets drafted in the 4th round, which is it's not like he's the last pick in the 7th round. Copyright Brock Purdy. So it's the path this young man took is just so full of metaphorical moguls, and he took the circuitous route and then just like bleep it. I ain't into it. I want to play NBA 2K and I'm good enough to play in tournaments. And look, Mom, I'm scooping chips here. It all came together for him to realize a professional dream, and he didn't even get to play a snap in his rookie season as he was killed this weekend in that 3-car crash, as Nordo said.
Yeah, it stings too. You mentioned this country. We have so many myriad, too many to count, stories of people that take that different path, that circuitous route, as you mentioned. But the beauty of it is finding self-belief, finding that avenue and realizing those talents and capitalizing on them. Those stories are never not amazing. And that's where he was. So that it's just, pure sadness, regardless of NFL or otherwise, just a young person dying the way they did. But just getting to learn one of the most, probably the most intriguing story when you're thinking about the Vikings is this kid, what he did, took a break and found his way back. It was an amazing story, and sadness, just prayers and thoughts go to the families of all 3 that were killed over the weekend. News to Nord brought to you by The Casino at Canterbury Park, CanterburyPark.com. To the Minnesota Twins. The Twins do win yesterday, PA 3-2. I think they took 2 of 3 from the Astros over the weekend. Christian Vasquez provided all the offensive juice. He singled in Buxton. Then it was a fielder's choice that plated Brooks Lee. Then he walks off with a solo shot in the 9th. 51 wins for the Twins right now, PA. They're on a 92-win pace, much better than last season. but they're 6th back in the division. Cleveland still just handling their prosperity, you should say, quite well.
Yep.
As it's going from fad to trend to standard. Still firmly in wild card spot. They're at the White Sox, the worst team in baseball, for 3 starting today. Then they're at the middling Giants, and then they're at the All-Star break, where there's one All-Star in the Minnesota Twins. You guessed it. It's Carlos Correa. That's his 3rd trip to the All-Star game, 2017 and 2021 as well. Minnesota Twins go beat up on those Shy Sox, go beat up on those Giants, and get healthy. And take a pause, enjoy Carlos at the All-Star break, and come back hot for the second half.
And unless it was snapped yesterday, I don't believe it was. I think Jose Miranda has a hit in 12 consecutive at-bats.
It did snap, but he tied a record.
Wow.
In Major League Baseball history
with
with 12 consecutive at-bats. It was single, double, single, double, single. I mean, it was insanity. But yeah, Jose Miranda, how about that? It's a story of some of the secondary players, and I know Royce is already he's hurt again. We got to get him back. Hopefully, it's nothing too serious with the growing bit last week. But I mean, in the end, a part of the story with this team is the secondary bats. The Jose Miranda, Willie Castro has been so good, so reliable to the point where people are talking about him as an all-star snub PA, and Larnach has had his moments and things like that. Jeffers and some of these guys stepping up. So. A story of secondary offense creating kind of a stabilizing offense for a team that played terrible for 20 games, and they've been pretty good since.
Who? If I missed this, I apologize. Who throws tonight for the Twins? Is it Chris Paddock? Because I thought it was Paddock, but ESPN.com says it's undecided.
It might be undecided because he was on that scheduled break, right?
Oh.
I don't have a name in front of me, but it was kind of. It was either elbow or shoulder soreness, and the idea was he was going to take a couple of starts off. He missed one last week, which I think that led to the debut of Festa. Maybe that was back on the road when they were in Arizona,
right?
But I don't have a name for tonight's game yet.
And Chris Flexen goes for the Chicago White Sox. He's not very good. Twins are minus 185. The total is 9.5. They're expecting a high-scoring game this evening. Both teams can hit. The White Sox are not known to be one of the more formidable up and down the lineup type teams in Major League Baseball. But Luis Robert, along with Andrew Vaughn and some other cats they have, they can ruin days if you're not careful. So this specifically with the All-Star break on the horizon, because now you're going to start getting minds thinking about that little pause and that break and stuff. And Cleveland, the target of which to shoot, they're at the Motor City Davy this evening, and they start Gavin Williams for the Nailers and Jimenez and Jose Ramirez and Stephen Kwan. So this Cleveland squad's quite good.
Last thing for you here, news to Nord. Lynx beat the Mystics on Saturday, 74-67. Courtney Williams and Kayla McBride, a little extra work on their part because Nafisa Collier has a foot thing. I'm not sure of the severity of it, but she wasn't in the mix. But Courtney and Kayla both had 17. Lynx are strong in 3rd in the league standings. They're at the LA Sparks, who are now missing Cameron Brink. That was a upstart rookie who I think tore her knee up. She was really good for LA before the injury. She's out of the mix, but you're at the LA Sparks tomorrow, at Seattle on Friday. And a little Caitlin Clark love. She had the first triple-double by a rookie in WNBA history on Saturday.
Wow.
They beat the Liberty.
Wait, that was the first rookie triple-double in the history of the league?
That's what it says.
Like almost 30 years?
First in Fever history as well, going back to 2000. She had 19 points, 13 dimes, and 12 rebounds. So she continues to just tear things up in her rookie campaign for Indiana.
The Lynx beat Washington over the weekend at Target Center, and they were killing them. And then Washington came storming back and either took the lead or tied the game. Washington is not very good, one of the worst in the league. And that was after a game. I believe the Lynx lost the game before that. So they just got a little, it's
a little up and down since the commissioners.
Yes, and they lost to the Liberty in one of those games.
Yep.
So
they lost to Dallas too, after. Yeah.
Thank you. That's what I couldn't get to. So it's been a little herky jerky. It's been a little topsy turvy. This is a cool week if you follow it, and I'm following it this year. You're at the LA Sparks now. The Sparks had lost 9 in a row. Very interesting. I think it was Friday night, at least interesting to yours truly. The LA team, which has a bunch of players that outside of this Hamby, Derica, I think is her first name. She's really, really good. They had lost $1 million in a row. Their last win was against maybe the best team in the game, the Las Vegas Aces. So the Aces came into Crypto.com Friday night, big 10-point road favorites. LA beat them again. And then they, and I was following yesterday's game closely. I think they won a relatively high scoring game.
They lost to Phoenix.
Did they lose by 3? It was super or something like that.
84-78.
Yeah, it was super close. Really good game. And so they're playing better. So that's cool. Seattle winning out there. Up until recently, Seattle never lost at home. Softy's team was just killing teams in the Cappuccino Capital. And then you got that Caitlin game, like you said. So Cheryl Reeve, the coach and president of basketball operations, she will join 9 to noon Wednesday from Los Angeles to chat about that squad. That's News du Nord, courtesy of Canterbury Park and CanterburyPark.com. We do have Wednesday racing this week, $5 specials all up and down the track. 5 o'clock is when we start Wednesday, and Sunday is something called Extreme Day. Those of you who have seen it, you probably liked it, where we race ostriches and camels and zebras along with the horses. So that's a Sunday beginning at 1 o'clock. Then we take a break for a week and a half. No Canterbury Park racing for a week and a half. And we have a rodeo there July 19th and the 20th. CanterburyPark.com for information. Glenn Perkins was analyzing Twins baseball, assumedly for profit, in the most recent series. And we'll catch up with Glenn around the corner on KFAN.